if you feel like you're stuck, stalling, like you're doing the work, but the work ain't working, no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work, you don't see the change, the results you want in your life, in your business, in your identity, in your relationship, I want you to hear this because so often I've noticed in my own life and with the women I work with, we think we're stuck, but in reality, we're just in transition. In reality, we're just outgrowing. Outgrowing an old chapter or phase in your life, it's very uncomfortable because you go through that phase where the old work, the old identity, the old beliefs, the old you that isn't completely completed yet, no longer fits. So it feels constraining, restricting, sticky. And the new hasn't settled. The new hasn't become familiar yet to the point that it's comfortable and it feels good. So you're like in this ugly in between, like the muddy phase. You know, when you're doing a painting and you start and then you go through that phase where it looks like a mess. And then magically, your creation is done and it's blooming and it's beautiful. So it's that messy middle, you know. And I noticed that for so many women I work with, myself included, I always include myself whenever I talk about women I work with because I'm the first big experiment of my life. I noticed that when we realize, when we feel like we're stalling, when we're not progressing, we tend to double down. We tend to, and it's very human. You just push harder to make it work. You try harder. You you start revisiting, you start tweaking. You just, I think it's very normal in a way. It's like, let me make sure it doesn't fit anymore. Or maybe I can still fit somehow because, in part, it's just human nature. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't like it anymore, even if it doesn't excite you anymore, it's what you've known. It's what's familiar. So a part of you, it's like, let's stay here. We know this. But the harder you try to make something work, something that's completed, something that you don't belong to that version of you, to that chapter anymore as you used to, the more friction, the more resistance it creates, the more we feel stuck. So it's like that messy in between. And as I was reflecting about this today, this example came to mind. I will give you an example from my own experience, which is I think this is going to resonate with so many. I had this red, bright red pair of jeans. That was a pair of jeans that used to fit me. I was at university and I was unhealthily underweight. And believe me, I carried those jeans with me across the world. When I moved across, like on the other side of the world, I moved to China, first to New York, then to China. Those jeans came with me with every single move. No matter how big or small the luggage, I always kept a place for those jeans because a part of me was like, one day we will fit back into them, and then I'll be enough, and then I'll be happy, and then I'll be proud of myself, and then it'll be okay. And this is not about just jeans because we do that with beliefs, we do that with relationships, we carry them for longer than we need. And again, It's human nature. And when I moved to Shanghai, the first 2 years, I moved a lot. I changed a lot of apartments. At first, I was staying with a friend, and then I was like, I want my own place. So I moved, but I moved again a couple times until I found my little cozy home. And those jeans were always coming with me. Every move, my luggage was getting smaller and smaller because moving a lot taught me a lot about becoming minimal and just loving carrying less. It felt lighter. Every move felt more agile, like I didn't have all those boxes, all those things to carry with me. It felt better. It felt good. So I appreciated that lesson, but those jeans were coming with me every single time. And imagine every day I would open my closet and there they were, staring at me and me staring back and like telling myself every morning, preparing, getting ready for work, one day I will fit back into those jeans. And it was it seems irrelevant, but it was shaping my day. It was shaping my decisions. Like, okay, kind of have to stay on a diet if I want to fit back into those jeans. Even if I knew that kind of weight, that kind of version of myself wasn't healthy. Even if I knew that. And it took me longer than I'd like to admit. I think I carried those jeans for close, perhaps 6, 7 years. Yeah. And I cannot tell you. And if you had those jeans too, a similar story, jean story, you know what I'm talking about. The day you finally decide to get rid of them, you finally donate, you finally move on. It felt so easy. It felt so good. It felt like, Marina, why did you wait so long? Every day, every morning, when I looked at those jeans, a part of me felt less than. A part of me felt inadequate. A part of me felt you need to work harder. You're not enough. It was a constant reminder sitting there. And I remember in my old compound, there was a place where everybody would bring trash. There was dedicated place for trash, and next to it, there was this place where you could bring all the items, whether it was home appliances, clothing, anything that you didn't use anymore but could be helpful to somebody else. You could donate it. And I brought my jeans there, and the morning after, I remember going to work and they were gone. And it felt so good because I was like, oh, that's so great. Somebody took them. It made someone happy. They were pretty new, you know, they were pretty unused. And I was so glad that something that didn't fit any longer made someone else happy. And more so, I felt liberated. And imagine, we're just talking about a pair of jeans, but we do this with beliefs, identities, relationships, careers, businesses, things we used to want, goals, things we used to want and we don't want anymore, desires we used to have and we don't have anymore. And I think most people believe that the hardest part is understanding what you want. I think the hardest part, this is what I've noticed in my own life with the people and women I work with, the hardest part is admitting you've changed and acknowledging what you now want, how much you want, what exactly you want without downsizing, without shrinking yourself without making it acceptable, reasonable, being honest about how much you've outgrown and how much or what you actually desire, and let yourself have it and go for it. I think that's the hardest part. And yeah, of course, outgrowing old chapters is always going to feel uncomfortable. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to remove the fear so you can take bold leaps and be fearless in every decision, in every area of your life. But that is not even human. Like fear is biologically, is that a word? Is a component of our biology. It's part of our DNA. It's essential for survival. We don't want to remove fear. You want to have fear. But the important thing is not let fear rule every decision, every single decision. And most importantly, not get in the way of what you want, of the life you want to build. And letting trust overpower fear in those situations, leaning into trust. And I think that the best way to do it and to make the process easier and easier as we go, noting that we cannot remove fear, but you can make it easier, is to just pay attention and collect evidence every time you take a leap. And also remember, because we tend to forget the good things. Every time you've taken a leap, every time you take a leap, every time you are brave, every time you are courageous, every time you choose growth over comfort, moving over hesitating, trust over fear, then pay attention, take note, celebrate, collect, stack evidence that every time you followed your gut, you were right. Life met you, life caught you on the other side. You didn't die. You actually achieved what you wanted. You actually evolved, expanded into the version of you and the life you actually want. So as you collect proof, it becomes easier because your body, your nervous system, it remembers, hey, we've already done this. It was fine. It was actually more than fine. It was great. And you build a little bit more trust every single time. And just remember that I was just looking at my notes that when you feel like you're stalling, when you feel like you're stuck, sometimes we think, oh, I need a better plan. I need another course, another strategy. I need more clarity, more confidence, more this, more that. I'm confused. Maybe that discomfort, that friction, that stickiness that you feel is not a sign that you are in the wrong place, that you're doing something wrong, or that you're missing something. It's just a sign that where you've been doesn't fit anymore. So it's your body, it's your system signaling you, your wisdom telling you, hey, imagine like you're a plant. The vase, you need a bigger vase. You've outgrown your space, you've grown. You need a bigger container. So go get yourself a bigger vase where you can flourish, where you can take up more space, receive more nourishment, grow taller, grow bigger, and create, foster, nurture that bigger contribution that you know you're here to make. Those fruits that you're here to offer others. That impact, that contribution. The more you nurture yourself, the more you take up space, the more you choose to grow over staying comfortable and shrinking and playing smaller, the more you can contribute. And I think that's the key to fulfillment. Because if your soul, if your heart is calling you to something bigger, the resistance, the feeling of stuckness you feel, it's probably your signal that it's time to choose trust, to trust yourself and leap. I love this topic. Yeah, I think the biggest gift we can give ourselves when we are in these uncomfortable stages is to be honest. Be honest. Be honest about the things you've outgrown and the things you actually want. And make space in your wardrobe. Make space in your wardrobe for new items that match the version you're becoming. More space in your relationship, friendships, partner, romantic relationships, in your business, in your work, in your career. Go make space. This is one of the things we work through, we talk about inside the bigger life. If you want to dive in, the link is in the description. I will see you tomorrow.